The assembly will reconvene in 7 days, Elena stated. Earth will be present. We will take our place in the galaxy again, not as subjects of your rules, but as partners in creating new ones, if you attempt to stop us, or to threaten Earth in any way. The screens flickered to show shadow ships positioned near critical assembly infrastructure across the galaxy, wormhole stabilizers, antimatter production facilities, planetary defense arrays. We will remind you why you feared us in the first place. The transmission cut. In the silence that followed, Chancellor Vex Threll turned to his advisors. Options. The Dravidi security chief's scales had paled. We have none. Their technology is. It should not be possible. Could we attack Earth directly? The quarantine fleet has already been neutralized, the aide reported, reading incoming data. All assembly vessels near the Sol system are reporting complete systems failure. No casualties, but they're dead in space. The Chancellor's compound eyes narrowed. They planned this for 10 years. And we gave them no choice but to become what they've become, his aide said quietly. We turned potential allies into. He struggled for the word. Into something new, the Chancellor finished. Something we created through our fear. Outside, the shadow ships remained in orbit, a silent reminder of how drastically the balance of power had shifted. Humanity, once cast out, had returned, not with pleas for acceptance, but with the power to take what had been denied them. And the galaxy would never be the same. 7 days later, Elena Reyes stood once more in the Galactic Assembly Hall. This time, she was not alone. Behind her stood Captain Vega and Admiral Chen, along with Dr. Williams and other architects of the Phoenix Protocol. The chamber was fuller than it had been 10 years ago. Every species had sent representatives, not just diplomats but scientists, military leaders, cultural experts, all eager to understand the humans who had returned so dramatically from exile. Chancellor Vex Threll approached Elena before the session began. Without his ceremonial robes, he seemed smaller, more vulnerable. You could have destroyed us, he said simply. That was never our goal, Elena replied. Humans don't seek dominance for its own sake. We seek progress, connection, understanding, even from those who rejected us. The assembly was wrong, the Chancellor admitted. We feared what we didn't understand. And in our fear, we created exactly what we sought to prevent. Elena looked around the chamber, at the curious and cautious faces of hundreds of species. There's an old human saying, Chancellor, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. You tried to isolate us, believing it would weaken and contain us. Instead, you forced us to become something new. And now we move forward, together. Elena's expression softened slightly. But know this, if anyone ever threatens Earth again, what you've seen of the Shadow Fleet is nothing compared to what awaits them. The Chancellor's mandibles clicked in what his species considered a smile. Of that, Director Reyes, the Assembly has no doubt. As Elena took her place at the center of the Assembly Hall, she felt the weight of 10 years lifting. Earth had been cast out, forgotten, dismissed as a threat to be contained. Now it had returned, not as a supplicant, but as a power that could no longer be ignored. The galaxy had rejected humanity. Humanity's answer had been to transform itself into something the galaxy couldn't afford to reject again. And as the assembly session began, with all eyes fixed on the human delegation, Elena knew this was just the beginning of humanity's true ascension among the stars. And they were right to fear it, said General Zhao, his voice like gravel. But they should have feared what would happen if they backed us into a corner even more. The hologram shifted to show the pride of the Shadow Fleet, the ISV Nemesis. Unlike the gleaming white vessels Earth had previously used for space travel, this ship was a void-given form. Its hull absorbed light rather than reflected it, covered in materials that bent scanning waves around it. It was a ghost ship in the most literal sense, undetectable, untraceable. The Assembly believes they know what humans are capable of. Elena addressed the room. They judged us based on what we showed them, which was only a fraction of our potential. We held back, trying to be good galactic citizens. We obeyed their rules. We didn't want to frighten our new neighbors. She walked around the holographic display, studying the ship that would lead humanity back to the stars. That was our mistake. We should have shown them exactly why they should fear us. Then they might have chosen alliance over isolation. When do we strike? Asked Admiral Chen. Elena looked at the countdown timer on the main screen, measuring the days, hours, minutes since Earth had been cast out. Not yet. The assembly needs to forget about us first. Let them believe their quarantine worked. Let them think we've accepted our fate. She turned to face the assembled leaders, her eyes reflecting the ghostly light of the hologram. They cast us out because they feared what we might become. Let's show them how right they were to be afraid. In the 5 years that followed, Earth changed. Cities that had once relied on alien technology for power now hummed with new energy sources developed through unrestricted research. The old defense satellites were replaced with platforms that could hide in plain sight, bending light around them. But the greatest change was in the people. A generation that had grown up believing they were part of a greater galactic community now focused inward, their resentment hardening into resolve. Children who might have become xenolinguists or xenobiologists instead studied advanced weapons theory and stealth technology. Deep within lunar caverns, engineers worked on the Shadow Fleet, now numbering over 50 vessels. They were unlike anything humanity had built before, part machine, part biological, with integrated AI systems that bordered on true consciousness. Ships that could think, heal, and hunt. On the 7th anniversary of the quarantine, Elena Reyes stood on the observation deck of the Nemesis, watching as Earth receded behind them. The ship moved in perfect silence, its quantum displacement drive leaving no trail, no radiation signature. All systems nominal, reported Captain Thomas Vega, once a diplomat like Elena, now commander of humanity's most advanced warship. The Assembly Defense Network hasn't detected us. They wouldn't, Elena said. To them, we're not even here. The fleet is in position, added Admiral Chen through the comm, awaiting your command. Elena took a deep breath. 7 years of preparation, of building and planning in the dark. 7 years of being forgotten by a galaxy that had deemed humanity too dangerous to join their community. Begin Operation Prometheus, she ordered. Across the Sol system, 50 shadow ships activated their drives and vanished from known space. Earth, seemingly still quarantined and contained, had just released its answer to the galaxy's rejection. The hunt had begun. Part 2. The Reckoning. High Chancellor Vex Thrail stood in the Assembly's central communication hub on Centauri Prime, mandibles clicking nervously as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The massive display showed red alerts spreading like a viral infection through the star chart. Another one? He asked, his translator struggling to convey his distress. The Zora Axe mining colony in the Epsilon sector, confirmed his aide. Same as the others. All defense systems disabled simultaneously. All communications cut. When restored, the colony found all its shipyards empty. How many does that make? 17 attacks in the last 30 days. No casualties, but critical infrastructure targeted each time. Always the same pattern. Systems go dark. Something takes what it wants, then disappears. The Chancellor's compound eyes reflected the blinking alerts, and still no indication of who is responsible. None. No energy signatures we recognize. No warp trails. No quantum disruption. It's as if. The aide hesitated. As if what? As if they simply appear and disappear at will. The Chancellor turned to the Assembly's head of security, a Dravidi warrior whose species was renowned for their tactical brilliance. Your assessment? We're dealing with technology beyond our understanding, the Dravidi admitted. Whoever they are, they're testing our defenses, learning our response patterns. These aren't random attacks. They're reconnaissance. A junior communications officer approached, his bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with urgency. Chancellor, we're receiving a transmission. It's It's being broadcast on all frequencies, overriding our encryption protocols. Put it through, ordered the Chancellor. The main display flickered, and a human face appeared. A woman with dark hair streaked with silver, her eyes cold and calculating. "Greetings, Chancellor Vexthral," she said. "It's been a long time." The Chancellor's exoskeleton rattled in shock. "Ambassador Reyes." "How?" "Director Reyes now," she corrected. "And as for how I'm broadcasting to you, that's just one of many things we've developed since you cast us out." The Chancellor straightened. "The quarantine was the Assembly's decision, made to protect. To protect yourselves from us," Alina finished. "I remember your words clearly. Every human remembers them. We've had 10 years to think about what you did, 10 years to prepare our response." "The attacks," the Dravidi security chief growled. "That was you." Alina smiled thinly. "Consider it our way of reintroducing ourselves to the galaxy. We could have destroyed those colonies. Instead, we simply borrowed some resources." "This is an act of war," the Chancellor declared. "No, Chancellor. The act of war was when you isolated an entire species and left them to die. The Shadow Fleet is merely our response." "Shadow Fleet?" The Chancellor's translator couldn't hide his alarm. As if on cue, alarms blared throughout the communication hub. On auxiliary displays, security feeds showed impossible images, ships appearing in the heart of Centauri Prime's defense grid, sleek black vessels that seemed to drink in the light around them. "Impossible," whispered the Dravidi. "Our detection grid is the most advanced in the galaxy. Nothing could penetrate it without warning." "Nothing you know of," Alina replied. "While you forgot about us, we didn't forget about you. We studied. We evolved. We became what you feared. And then we became something far beyond that fear." The Chancellor's compound eyes fixed on Alina's image. "What do you want?" "Recognition, restoration, reparation." Alina leaned forward. "The quarantine ends today. Earth will rejoin the galactic community, not as a supplicant, but as an equal. Any species that opposes this will face the Shadow Fleet. You cannot dictate terms to the entire Assembly." "We already are." Alina's voice hardened. "Look outside, Chancellor." The security feeds shifted to orbital views. Above Centauri Prime, dozens of shadow ships had appeared, their hulls absorbing the starlight. They hovered like predators, making no move to attack, but their presence was threat enough. "This is just one battle group," Alina continued. "We have others positioned throughout the galaxy, near the homeworlds of every species that voted for our exile. They await my command." The Chancellor's aide whispered something urgently in his ear. "Yes, now you understand." Alina nodded. "Your planetary shields have been disabled. Your weapons systems are offline. Your communications to the Assembly fleet have been severed. You are, in a word, quarantined. You would destroy us." The Chancellor's voice was hollow. "If we wanted destruction, you would already be dead," Alina replied. "But humans are not the monsters you painted us to be. We don't seek annihilation. We seek justice." She gestured, and the screens filled with new information, detailed schematics for technologies beyond the Assembly's current capabilities, medical procedures that could extend lifespans, energy systems that could power worlds without resource depletion, propulsion designs that would make current starships obsolete. "This is what you feared," Alina said. "Our capacity to innovate, to transform, to transcend limitations. You saw it as chaos. We know it as progress." The Chancellor stared at the displays, mandibles working silently. "These designs are now being transmitted to every world in the Assembly," Alina continued. "Not just to governments, but to public networks, academic institutions, medical facilities. Knowledge cannot be quarantined, Chancellor." "You're destabilizing the entire galactic order," the Dravidi snarled. "We're evolving it," Alina corrected, "as humans have always done." She stood, revealing the bridge of the Nemesis behind her. a command center unlike anything in the assembly fleet, where humans worked alongside AI constructs that moved with eerie grace. The Exile. The Galactic Assembly Hall on Centauri Prime shimmered with a cold light that reflected off the crystalline walls. Over 300 alien species occupied the tiered seats, their murmurs creating a discordant symphony of clicks, whistles, and guttural sounds. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Elena Reyes, her dark uniform emblazoned with Earth's insignia, a blue and green sphere wrapped in laurels. She stood alone. High Chancellor Vex Thrall, a towering mantis-like being with iridescent exoskeleton, rose from the central platform. The chamber fell silent. For too long, we have observed the species known as humans. The Chancellor's voice reverberated through neural translators. We have witnessed their uncontrolled expansion, their reckless innovation, their inability to conform to galactic norms. Elena's jaw tightened. She had expected this, but the reality still burned. Their neural architecture promotes chaos and dissent, continued a Solari representative, whose body glowed with internal light. They question everything, challenge everything. Even their entertainment glorifies rebellion. We gave them access to our technologies, added the Crommeth ambassador, his scales rippling with agitation. They modified them, weaponized them, created hybrid systems that defy our regulations. Elena stepped forward. We adapt. We innovate. That's how we survived on Earth for thousands of years. Our planet wasn't the paradise many of yours were. We had to fight for every step of progress. And that is precisely the problem. Chancellor Vex Thrall's mandibles clicked with finality. The Assembly has voted. Earth is to be quarantined, effective immediately. All stargates connected to the Sol system will be deactivated. All trade routes severed. All communication relays shut down. Elena's heart pounded against her ribs. Chancellor, the people of Earth have contributed valuable discoveries to the Assembly. Our medical research alone is outweighed by the threat you pose, interrupted a gaseous entity from the upper tier. You are not being destroyed, merely contained, for the greater good. The vote displayed on massive holographic screens. The decision was nearly unanimous. Only 3 species had abstained. None had voted in Earth's favor. You have 6 galactic standard hours to return to your system, the Chancellor announced. After that, the quarantine will be enforced by the Assembly Defense Fleet. Elena stood rigid, her eyes sweeping across the alien faces, some sympathetic, most relieved. You think you're protecting yourselves from us, she said, her voice quiet yet carrying across the chamber. But you've just created your worst nightmare. Is that a threat, Ambassador? The Chancellor leaned forward. It's a prediction, Elena replied. Humanity crawled out of caves and reached for the stars. We survived ice ages, plagues, and our own self-destructive tendencies. And now you think a quarantine will break us. She smiled, though it never reached her eyes. You've just guaranteed that when we return, it won't be as the same species you dismissed today. As she turned to leave, a final message appeared on her neural implant from General Zhao of Earth Defense Command. Initiate Phoenix Protocol. 3 years passed since the quarantine began. Earth's night sky, once filled with the blinking lights of trade vessels and diplomatic shuttles, now lay silent. The stargates that once orbited Earth hung dormant like massive, useless sculptures. In an underground facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Elena Reyes stood before the assembled leaders of Earth's nations. No longer an ambassador, she now served as director of the Phoenix Protocol. The Assembly believes they've contained us, Elena's voice echoed in the cavernous chamber. They'd forgotten what humans do best, adapt and overcome. Behind her, holographic displays showed schematics for technology that would have made the Assembly representatives recoil in horror. Quantum displacement drives, consciousness transfer systems, nanite weapon platforms, AI systems without the restraints the Assembly had always insisted upon. The Shadow Fleet is nearly complete, reported Admiral Chen, his weathered face grim with determination. 26 vessels constructed in the asteroid belt facilities, away from any potential observation. And the Lazarus Matrix? Elena asked. A scientist stepped forward, Dr. Imani Williams, the brilliant physicist who had once been celebrated across the galaxy for her work on stable wormhole theory. Operational. We've successfully installed the system in all shadow vessels. If they're destroyed, the ships can effectively resurrect themselves. Technology the assembly explicitly banned. Elena nodded, along with everything else we're building. Because they feared what we could do with it, Dr. Williams replied.